Hello, this is Bob74H back for another video today. And today I will be talking about deviation of source material and as to why that is a horrible argument in regards to certain media properties being bad. I'm going to go into detail into inconsistencies with certain people, inconsistencies just in general, and just a general gist as to why deviation in certain media or in certain properties is inevitable and will always exist, right? So, I'm going to just start out with the obvious point. He-Man, the new one, the Netflix version, right, is the already third version of the series, third version of the character as well, because there was I think it was the 2000s reboot, and then there's the original series of He-Man, which would be the source material. So, again, going by the logic of deviation from source material equals bad, you would think these same people would say, well, the 2000s reboot is garbage because, get this, it deviates from the source material. But they don't say that. So their logic is very inconsistent because they're willing to say X is bad for deviation, but Y isn't bad for deviation as well. Plus, without deviation, we wouldn't have characters, right? You have to think every character that currently exists is a deviation of another aspect or another idea. He-Man himself is a variation of the barbarian trope, right? He's not intrinsically a unique character. He's a deviation of an idea, right? So same goes with other characters, right? If you say take what's it called, Omni-Man, right? People like Omni-Man. He's a deviation of Superman, and Superman's a deviation of, I guess you could say no, E.T. came out after. But yeah, you know, every character has some deviation. And you could say, another thing too, is you could say, well, Green Arrow is a deviation of Robin Hood, right? So, again, there's a lot of, lines to go down, right, with anything. So, this idea that deviation is equatable to bad is just ridiculous, right? There's deviations in cards and in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's deviations in different, interpretations of characters. Like, there's gendered swapped hentai versions of, Reaper from Overwatch. And there's different variations of like fan art or of like a female Raditz. There's variations on pandas, there's variations of koala characters, there's just different variations of every different idea imaginable, right? So this idea that a deviation of an X idea is bad is just ridiculous, because you wouldn't have a lot of characters that you have existing right now. Superman is you could say, a deviation of what an alien would be, right? Because he's an alien. And you just keep going down the list, and there's always going to be more and more deviation, right? So you take manga versus anime, right? There's differences in the manga versus the anime. Deviations like this are inevitable, and it's fine. I think people are getting upset over nothing, and their reasons for getting upset are inherently wrong and stupid. If you have an actual issue with the show, after there's a plot hole, something doesn't make sense, there's an inconsistency, whatever, right? There's an actual error or issue with the show, right? I get that, but complaining about deviations isn't really getting you anywhere, because it's such an idiotic and self-contradicting argument, even by the people who say it. Like, Clownfish TV is the same person who on record has said that, the 2000 reboot was fine and the new reboot is not, even though by their logic of deviation equates to being bad, it would be. And that's not to say Clownfish TV is, you know, a horrible YouTube channel, whatever. I'm just saying that the argument in which they're making is inconsistent. And the argument made by fans is inconsistent as well. If you want to come after the new He-Man show, then saying deviation equates to bad isn't really going to help you, because then we're going to have to say anything and everything is bad. Because get this, anything and everything's bad, right? The avatar on, you know, their page is a deviation or variation, right, of a clownfish. And you can get this, the whole idea of like anime, right? You could say that's a deviation of cartoons. You could really go into a long strand. You could really stretch out the meaning of deviation to mean anything. This deviates from, you know, the conventions associated with X thing. Like, for example, Mortal Kombat as a game deviated from the typical expectations or typical tone of a game, right? Normally games were your Marios, your Zeldas, so on. Yet nobody says Mortal Kombat is bad because deviation. And nobody on the planet says that computers are bad because they deviate from what, you know, old-fashioned 1990s, 1980s dial-up would be. But if we're going by the logic of deviation equates to bad, then I guess my computer, or any computer that's not 90 years old, is bad because it doesn't use dial-up. Like, the logic here is very faulty. And that's kind of my point with this whole, you know, video.